Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. I'm Susan Treadgold, host of the High Performing Women Talk Show. And I like to focus on female founders and female funders because women are only getting about 2% of the VC money, and we can do better. So when you have a moment after this episode, please share, subscribe to the show on YouTube or the zinc.ai platform. So today's topic, we're going to be diving into a powerful idea, and that's authenticity as your competitive edge. In a world that often rewards conformity, showing up as your true self isn't just refreshing. I think it's a strategy for building trust and influence and long-term success. So we're going to explore how authenticity can fuel confidence, open doors, and set you apart in any room. Now, Maddi is the expert that's going to be talking about this today. Welcome, Maddi.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. Maddi is a co-founder and general partner at Daring Ventures in New York City, and I hope to catch up with her in person in a couple of weeks. She's also the host of Let's Be Heard, which is a women's health podcast. And Maddi knows a thing or two about being an underdog or not doing things in the conventional way. She was a walk-on D1 athlete at Rice University while managing a pre-med course load. So from that to pulling off a last-minute pivot from medicine to finance, despite having never worked in the field. So Maddi has done a bit in VC. She's worked at Touchdown Ventures, supporting multiple corporate partner VCs from healthcare to prop tech to entertainment. And at Cigna Ventures, she focused on early stage healthcare companies and led the women's health vertical. So she's pretty much been a resilient path breaker who's bulldozed through any obstacles, really never accepting the word no. And she really amplifies to others. She amplifies others that may not always be heard and may be overlooked because they don't fit the traditional mold. So I am so thrilled to have you here, Maddi.
I'm so excited to be on and excited to talk about authenticity and hopefully be helpful to other folks as they're going through their journeys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dolly Parton had a quote. I'm sure if it was her, but be yourself because everyone else is taken. So, tell me, how do you get into venture capital? I mean, I want to talk about breaking the mold. And it looks like you broke the mold in terms of your entrance. And I resonate with this because I got into sort of elite investment banking with DLJ, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch, Citigroup. And I didn't come in through the normal pathway as a graduate from Michigan State University. So most of the people that when I joined were from an Ivy League as well. So how did you get into venture capital without the MBA, the Ivy League network, or the perfect resume?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And it's one that I always say to folks who are trying to get into venture. You don't need the MBA. You don't need to go to Wharton. You don't need to go to Harvard to get into venture. And so my discovery of venture was actually a little bit by accident, but in like a serendipitous way. I went to business school in London at Imperial College. There was a course that I took that was venture capital and growth finance. And I just fell in love with that. The concept of being someone who's in the ecosystem where founders are building great companies and I get to be a supporting role in that. I just was like, that's what I want to do. Came back to the US and realized very quickly how network driven it is, how closed looped it is. And if you don't have a finance degree, it's like, good luck. But as you said, I'm very stubborn and that's what I wanted to do. And I also had this belief that being different and having a unique perspective is actually beneficial, especially in venture where it's, prized on being like looking for disruptors, innovative technologies, which sometimes that is not true, with certain firms, but it was a lot of talking to folks, trying to understand how VC is even as an ecosystem because it's very opaque. There's a lot of different ways firms operate. And so it was a lot of discovery calls, a lot of awkward interviews, and really trying to learn how to answer questions, how to think like an investor. And then a lot of folks telling me you should go to investment banking, big consulting, work at a startup before you even get in. And I just didn't accept that because there's got to be a firm that has values that match with what I'm all about and will take a chance on me and realize that financial modeling is not the only skill set that is like the end all be all. It's actually, in my mind, something easily learned if you out of firm. And so that was touchdown. They gave me my shot because they liked having a unique background, and then with corporate venture capital too, that strategic element and having to think in that lens versus just financial returns helped as well. So I say lean into what you really like and make sure you understand the different firms, the different and find one that really fits and likes your background. That's what
Yeah. Can I ask just right now? You're a little bit garbled sometimes when you speak. Do you have? Yeah, I mean, can I try a different? Can we just take that out for a second to see if it's better? Can you go ahead and speak again?
Let me
see if those speakers are a bit better, because it was I could hear you, but it was a little bit.
All right. Let me see if I can do the mic.
It actually sounds a little bit better already.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. I can't hear you for some reason.
You can't hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
All right. Maybe now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Okay.
Okay. Now I can hear you much better now. So that's
okay. Perfect. I was technical issues on my end.
No. That's okay. That's okay. So, so you basically found someone whose values aligned and got them to take the chance on you. I mean, how did you do that? What was your job search strategy?
Yeah, it was back at the time when I started, really where I first learned the best resource was John Gannon's blog. That was really the only place. Now there's a lot more resources. There's a lot of investors that post on LinkedIn, for instance. There's newsletters that do it. But back then that was a big source of it. And then as I would speak to other investors in the ecosystem, just to learn about their firm that they're at, I would then ask, who else should I talk to just better understand? Yeah.
I think that's the best question that you can ever ask at the end of it. So you're basically doing informational interviews, and then who else should I talk to?
Exactly. And that was so helpful. And I would say that for anything, if you're, fundraising, if you're looking for just jobs, because at the same time, when you're just like, I want to learn, it's a lot easier for people to then be like, okay, because everyone wants to, feel like they're contributing, feel like they're sharing something. And so when you have that opportunity, it's easier to do that than like if you're just going straight for the ask of, do you have a job, open, or if not, because then it can lead to opportunities that you may not know about. I will say though, it is persistence. It is very much
right. And to be honest, it's a numbers game, and you keep
yeah.
and you're growing your network. You never know. Like, they may not be an option now, but I certainly employed that method. And then sometimes people come back a couple months or a couple years later, and so you still have that network. It's like it's a really a no lose scenario. Now, Daring Ventures. I love the name personally. Um, why Daring VC? What made you launch your own firm? And what do you do? How do you play the game differently? What are you doing different from other VCs?
Yeah, so starting Daring was really a culmination of my love of mentorship and also my co-GP, his love of mentorship. That was really something that was core to how we like to function as investors and just people in general. And from my time in venture, being in the industry and even trying to help others who are trying to get in who may not have that traditional backstory, really just saw that it's hard to change a system from the inside out, that I would need to study something to show how it should be done or how I feel like it should be done. And so that's what led to Daring Ventures. We do pre-seed investing in software for experts to help them with their decision-making capabilities. And so what that really means is, with AI, there's so much information out there today. Anyone can build a company faster. And so a lot of that can be noise though too. So really it's knowing what to do with that. That's important. And so that's where that value is. So getting to conviction and being able to see how to curate things, how to make a decision that's going to make a big, life or death situations, like things like healthcare, professional services, industrials. And so I would say for us, what we do it differently is how we look at founders. We look at their right to win, their will to win, and then their X factor. So we don't even look at, we don't care where you went to school, who you know, where you are from. It's really, do you have experience with the problem firsthand that you're trying to solve? Like, do you have that lived experience, earned insights, and it's something that you really know what needs to be solved for it? And
that really, creates a passion and deep expertise. Like, I was just listening to a guy who's just invented a new way. He was a coal miner, and he saw all of the guys retiring, and they couldn't breathe, and they were dying because of respiratory diseases. And he's invented like this new AI driven filter that's always sensing when things are getting worse. And that's a really lived experience, not the traditional founder, right? Like, can you give me an example of what you're talking about? I mean, I think it's very important, having that lived experience and passion.
Yeah, an example for us that we've done is a company called Hosty. They are in the restaurant tech space, and they provide a voice AI tool for front of the house operations. So instead of having someone answering the phones for reservations, questions about do they have valet, things like that, it allows most of that to be automated through a very good AI that makes it seem more helpful. And then the restaurant staff can actually focus on curating that dining experience for customers. And so the founder was a restaurateur. He had opened a restaurant in SF. His family was like 40 years in the restaurant industry. So it's a very family-driven industry.
Right. I can see that as really being important. And so the people there at front of house, They're not like, I'm on the phone, just a minute. They can be more present, right?
Yeah,
Right? I
exactly.
know. I hate that when you walk in. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, talk to the
Oh,
hand for a second while I deal with people that aren't here. Yeah, I mean, that's really, even with my children, I'm saying, well, what are the problems you see around here? Like, what problems are you facing? Like, that's how you come up with ideas. So I know you get to speak a lot on panels. I think you're going to be speaking at an upcoming event in LA. Is that
mhm.
correct?
Yes, that is Super Returns West.
Oh, that's exciting. And what's happening there?
Yeah, so it's a conference for allocators, which can be institutional investors like endowments, universities, pensions, family offices, as well as VC investors and founders. And I'm speaking on a panel for emerging managers and what that looks like from a venture perspective, because we are Fund One. And so emerging managers is 1 through 4 usually in terms of fund number that you're on.
Wow, even 4. Gosh, I would have thought you would have been like,
You would think so, but
long in the
yeah,
tooth by then. Yeah,
it's
right.
a little bit confusing. Yeah, there's so many different folks that fit into that. So we always just say first time fund managers to make it very easy.
Yeah. Okay. I'd like to go beyond the hashtags.
Mm-hmm.
Empowering women in venture is, easy to talk about. But what are you actually doing that you think is changing the numbers? And maybe you could talk about some of those numbers as well.
Yeah. So one of the things that drives me insane is the number that, 2% or even probably less now that is being venture funding for female founders, which to me just is insane because we're 50% of the population. There's a huge market opportunity in what, women do on a day to day basis. Like it's way more than what most people think. And so I'm always a fan of trying to, help lower those barriers when it comes to networks and investors because unfortunately female founders have a harder time getting funding and sometimes have to piece it together. And so I try to help, even if it's not in scope for our fund, I try to be helpful and make introductions to other people I know, especially other female investors. And so that's usually what I do. An example being a company called Farm from a Box. It's in the ag tech space, incredible female founder. And unfortunately, it's hardware software, so it's out of scope for us. But I really like her and wanted to help her. And so I've made about 5 introductions so far to other investors. And so that's one way. I think also for women in the industry, the investors, helping them grow their networks and also connect with other female investors so that there's more competition.
Are there any particular networks that you recommend for, women building a fund?
Yeah, so there is a big Slack community called Women in VC is one. I think that one, and it's global, so it's beyond just the U.S. It's a great group. I would also say if you're doing like angel investing too, there's one called The Helm that's based in New York, and it's a community of investors investing in female-led companies. So that's another great one. I would also say if you're raising a fund, there's different emerging manager programs. So like Recast Capital, led by 2 incredible women, I believe, actually a full all-women team. They help with that process and getting you to that point where you can raise funding and introduce you to potential investors for your fund. And then Bridge Global is a group that does the exact same thing. Also, 2 female-led ones. So those would be a couple I would mention.
Wow, that's great. Those are great resources. So LBH.
Mhm.
I normally think LBD, Little Black Dress. LBH. You are current, and that's the acronym for your Let's Be
Mhm.
Heard podcast. You've got two platforms, but one mission. You're building a fund at the same time as hosting a women's health podcast. So, how do these worlds connect for you, and what sort
Mhm.
of synergies are you seeing there?
Yeah, so really when I was at Cigna Ventures doing early to growth stage healthcare investing, women's health was a big area of focus that I kind of championed a lot, looking at the opportunities there. And also at the same time, I had my own personal experience of being, medical gaslighting from previous OBGYNs and realized that even as someone who has a health background, both my parents are doctors, and I still didn't feel like I knew what to do with my body, and it just felt a little bit of like confusion, shame, and then on the investment side was still not where it needs to be. Like it's such a huge market, and I feel like I'm hitting my head against a brick wall every time I try to convince others. But I realize that there's just so much that needs to be talked about that and so much stigma that needs to go away from this topic. And so that's what really led to starting Let's Be Heard, where it's, all conversations in women's health, founders building in the space, other ecosystem players that are experts and can share information in an unfiltered way. Because often, unfortunately, social media censors that a lot. And so that translates over to the venture side is I'm still hoping to invest in a women's health company.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that this is going to be where the smart money is, because over the next 5 years, there's going to be this big, the great wealth transfer. It's,
Oh, yeah.
trillions are coming into women, into women's control. And, when I think even like mammograms, like 1950s technology, I recently interviewed a woman, Tara Gazzi, who's coming up with a replacement for the mammogram that is like compression free, no more pain. I mean, can you imagine if like
Yeah.
men had to be compressed in a painful way like that and had unnecessary biopsies of needles stuck into their privates? I mean, things would change pretty quickly. So I really, I'm happy that that you're shining a light on this. And where is your podcast?
Yeah, so it can be found on YouTube and also Spotify.
Okay, all right. So wonderful. And who do you have coming up next?
Yes, so I'm actually doing a podcast episode tomorrow for a female founder of a company called Endo 45. She's based out of New Zealand, and it focuses on endometriosis. She is a former patient of that, is now managing that because it's a chronic disease. And so really getting that perspective from her and why that led her to start the company to build kind of the symptom management tool for women. And so that's the next one coming up. And then I'm dropping a new episode that I recorded previously next week.
Okay, great. Well, people go like and subscribe to that. Now, I just wanted to, I know that you may be, you're still raising some money for your fund, correct?
Yes, we are actively raising for Fund One, and we are still investing as well.
So this is, I think, where if people want to take a screenshot, these are the best places to get in touch with you. Is that correct? And who are these people?
Yes, that is correct. And on the right hand side, that is Lauren, and then Joe. Lauren is our investment associate, head of growth, and Joe is the other GP. And then in the middle is Benny and Cam. They are the founders of Praxis Pro, which is one of our other portfolio companies.
Wonderful. Okay. And did we have your are these what are these contacts? Are these better? I mean,
Yeah,
what were these?
so Yeah, in addition to my email, which very open, so if anyone emails me, I will respond. The hello at Daring Ventures link is for where we do intake of decks. It's also for other investors or ecosystem partners that want to collaborate. We share some resources there. And then Out of Scope is our newsletter, which is just musings, interesting thought pieces that we do. And then the YouTube one is for the podcast.
Oh, brilliant. Now, I love I love your LinkedIn posts. I mean, you're very active on LinkedIn, so I would, encourage everybody who's listening to link in with you, because I can see you get really a lot of engagement with your posts. So that's a brilliant. Now, I just want to, I mean, is there any last, words of wisdom you'd like to share as we wrap up the episode? I can see we're at about time now.
Yeah, I just want to say one, thank you for having me on. I think this is an incredible show that you're doing and highlighting incredible women that are doing things in the space so that people know. And I would say, or last piece of advice is just own your authenticity and lean into it. And you don't have to fit a mold for other people. There are ways to be successful in this world.
Absolutely. And if there's one takeaway today for me, it's this: authenticity isn't a weakness. It's your greatest strength. And the more you lead with who you truly are, the more impact, influence, from fulfillment you'll create. So go out there, show up fully as yourself, and let authenticity be your competitive edge. And one final plug, please remember to like and subscribe to the High Performing Women Talk Show on YouTube or on zinc.ai. So thank you so much, Maddi. I wish you every success, and I hope to catch up with you in live in New York soon.
Thank you. And yes, that would be great.
All right, great.